Welcome to a new video, and in this video we have to talk again. We have to talk about the new Xiaomi 11T series that has been released, and if this is really an upgrade or is it more a step down from the Mi 10T series. So let's talk about it and let's get started. So I don't have the Xiaomi 11T Pro series here or the 11T series here, but still we can take a look at the specifications, and I have my Honor 50 here, which also plays a role maybe with this as one of the biggest competitors when this will arrive finally in Europe. What I have here are some notes, and I want to go quickly through them so we can compare spec by spec the predecessor, the Mi 10T Pro against the Xiaomi 11T Pro. So 10T Pro has a 144 Hz display, but in comparison to the 11T it's an LCD, not an OLED. So that's might explain a little bit why the 11T maybe is the better of them both. It's also getting brighter with 800 to 1000 nits, and I think it's around 600 to 800 nits on the 10T Pro. But when it comes to the camera comparison and the camera department, it's a completely different kind of device. The 11T Pro is a downgrade, a clear downgrade from the 10T Pro, because the 10T Pro has not only the larger sensor with 1/1.33 inch size, but also the larger aperture of 1.7 instead of 1.8 what the 11T Pro has. And it has, and this is very important, OIS, not only for video but also for photos in the dark or lower light conditions. It is so helpful to have an OIS on board, just like here that I have, or here. This also doesn't have an OIS, so you can see it clearly when taking photos in lower light situations. OIS helps a lot. And if you do a comparison between the 10T Pro against the 11T Pro, I'm pretty sure the 10T Pro will win this, even though it has an older sensor, but it has a larger sensor, a larger aperture, and it will definitely be the low light king in comparison to the 11T Pro. Next thing is the ultra wide angle. This one has 8 megapixels. The 11T Pro has 11 megapixels. Has 11? No, the 11T Pro has 8 megapixels and the 10T Pro has 13 megapixels. No, pixels is not everything. It also has a smaller sensor on the 10T Pro in comparison to the 11T Pro, but the 10T Pro has a larger field of view, quite a larger field of view with 123 degree instead of only 120 degree. You will notice that definitely. And in terms of quality, that also means like 4K support on the 10T Pro in theory, and not so much on the 11T Pro. So you have to go down to 1080p, which is a little bit of a bummer, I would say. Then also, yeah, the just 8 megapixel is also it's the typical 8 megapixels that we also have here in the Honor 50 Pro. It is not very good. We have this also in the Redmi Note 10 Pro, which is like significantly cheaper, like almost like 3 times cheaper than the 11T Pro. So it is very, very cheap to have only the 8 megapixels. It's basically the same sensor that the Redmi Note 10 Pro has. Then we have the 5 megapixel tele macro camera, which is basically the same. It is, I think, a tele macro camera on the 11T Pro, and it's just a 5 megapixel macro cam on the 10T Pro. But both feature AF, which helps a lot for macro shots, and I don't think that we will see a significant difference there. When it comes to the front cam, we have also, when it comes to specs, a slight downgrade from 20 megapixels f2.2 on the 10T Pro against the 11T Pro, which has only 16 megapixels. But the 16 megapixel sensor is a larger one. So it is slightly larger, so we can, but it is like compensating with the f2.5 aperture only on the 11T Pro, so it's low light performance, probably on par with the 20 megapixel sensor. When it comes to 4K recording, we don't get 4K recording on the front cam. We only have 1080p 60 frames per second, basically the same as on the Honor 50. When it comes to charging, so the biggest upgrade, I would say, from the 10T Pro line to the 11T Pro line is not the display, no. Because the display, I think 144, 120 Hz, you don't notice so much. I would not say that you will see so much, because the first battery specs that I saw, both have 5000 milliampere hours, is both perform almost on the same level when it comes to battery usage. This might be also due to a newer Snapdragon 888 and the more heat that it needs, which uses then more battery up than on the 10T Pro, which has the 865 and it doesn't produce so much heat. So performance wise, yeah, the 888 might be better, but as it cannot hold the speed because it's getting a bit too hot, the 865 is definitely my choice in this case. When it comes to the charging speed, then this is one of the major upgrades of the 11T Pro against the 10T Pro, because we get 120 watts charging. Not even Honor's 50 Pro version can compete with this, only has 100 watt charging, which is super fast. Like in 20 minutes you have this juiced up without any issues. This one is the Honor 50 here, which only uses 67 watts charging, which is also super awesome. Half an hour and it is charged up. And the same goes for the Mi 11T without the Pro, also only has 67 watt charging, which also means like half an hour and it's charged up. Super speed, everything. If you once experienced 66 watts, it's like super fast, super quick, super snappy, and you just plug it in for 5 or 10 minutes and you're good to go for the rest of the day. And this is basically what you can do even better on the 11T Pro with 120 watts charging. The only problem I see a little bit is they are the first that do this 120 watt charging, and I cannot imagine it being like mainstream already. I could imagine that the battery will degrade faster, quicker. It has to, just physics. It needs to degrade faster on the 11T Pro, and maybe after a few years you won't be able to charge it with 100 watts, or you will have like worse battery life with the 5000 milliampere hours. So the 33 watt charging on the 10T Pro is not like flagship worthy or upper mid-range worthy, and even the Honor 50 has 66 watt charging, which is like more than efficient, more than enough, I would say. So 66 watt is the sweet spot currently. 100 watt would be even better, but 120 watt, wow. So 11T Pro, this is one of the major upgrades that they have there. So what we can say now is display upgrade on the 11T Pro, definitely. Though one could argue 120 Hz only, 144 Hz on the 10T Pro, but I'd rather take the AMOLED screen for this. And when it comes to the battery department, both 5000 milliampere hours, but the big advantage on the 11T Pro is the 120 watt charging. Everything else, especially the camera department, is a downgrade, I would say. We both have stereo speakers, both have almost the same size, the same display resolution. There is not much that you can change. The Snapdragon 888, yeah, on paper quicker, but in real life usage, I would say, because it has to throttle a little bit because of heat performance issues, on par. So, and if you take into account that 650, if you don't get the pre-sale 600 euros one, 650 euros, and you get like 400 or 300 price range, you get already the 10T Pro, 400 price range, get the 10T Pro. It is clearly in the camera department the better device. So if you want to have like good camera performance for 400 euros, you get it there. And if you want to have good charging performance, you get it there on the 11T Pro. Otherwise, so in general, I would say in the camera departments, 10T Pro wins clearly, and the 11T Pro is better for battery juicing up. Not even battery life, just for quicker charging it up again. And is this enough for an upgrade? You can decide and write it down in the comment section. What do you think about the new Xiaomi 11T Pro series? And yeah, that's everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. I forgot, almost. If someone wants me to compare real phones like the 10T Pro and the 11T Pro, Xiaomi, if you're listening, you can send me, you can contact me, send me both devices. I will test them gladly out. Also in the camera department, you can convince me otherwise that the 11T Pro is a clear update of the 10T Pro. Just send me those devices. Or if someone wants to donate one device, just have a 10T Pro somewhere lying around. If someone donates me the 10T Pro, I will buy the 11T Pro to test and compare it with my own money, of course. Otherwise, you find link, PayPal, Patreon and so on. You can donate a little bit, so I'm able to buy those both, or just simply send, someone can send me review devices as well. I like to do this as well, and test those devices out in real. Now I'm only seeing the spec sheets and the specs and can calculate from my experiences. Also, I have the same HM2 Samsung sensor here, 108 megapixel. This is the Honor 50, by the way. So also the Honor 50, I think, is one of the biggest competitors to the Mi 11T, the 11T, without the Mi. Xiaomi, you're making it confusing. The Xiaomi 11T series, so the Honor 50, Honor 50 Pro, almost in the same ballpark. I would say slight edge to the Honor here, because it has a better front-facing camera on the normal model, and also on the Pro model it has a dual front-facing camera with the ultra-wide view as well. So in general, I would say, yeah, Xiaomi this year with the 11T series maybe not so good, especially when I'm looking at 650 euros and I'm looking at the prices for the Xiaomi Mi 11, which has basically the same specs, which is also a bit down than the 11T. So what has it going for it? Maybe the Android upgrade strategy that changed and the guaranteed updates, so I think 3 major upgrades and 4 years of security patches or something like this. I have to be honest, I cannot imagine that they are not giving this kind of update also for the Mi 11 or the Mi 10T. I have to say, to be completely honest with you. Could be that I'm wrong, but I don't see a reason why they should not also have this update strategy for the older devices that have almost the same almost the same chips inside, the same cameras inside, and so on. So you decide, you write it down in the comment section. That is really now everything for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Until the next time. Bye.